reincarnation and karma. Now, in Hinduism, there is a concept of samsara. That means cycle, or you can also interpret that as reincarnation. The basic concept here is that Hindus see life in a cyclical form. So you go through cycles of life. You are born, you live through your life, and you meet your death, but you are reborn again. So you are born again. So this is a cyclical situation, and you are reborn through reincarnation. Through this process, we know that the immortal soul, that the Atman, basically re-enter a different physical shell, physical body, to relive again in each reincarnation. This process has a purpose to give you a chance to improve yourself. Okay. Hindus see this kind of life cycle in a negative light. They do not want to come back to relive. They see that living on earth is a form of suffering. The ultimate goal of a Hindu is to end this endless cycle of birth and death and rebirth. They want to end this cycle. So the ultimate goal is to join with God, to be with God. They do not want to come back anymore. But this takes a long time. Also, this takes a process to improve yourself so that eventually you can be with God. But this improvement process takes a long time and will take many cycles of reincarnation for the soul to evolve spiritually. So that's why it's not that you cannot improve yourself to the point to join with God just within one lifetime or even a few lifetimes. It will take many rounds of reincarnation. So that's really well explained that why it has this concept of reincarnation, because it takes a long process to learn, to evolve spiritually, to be closer to the God. So these two pictures, in a way, illustrate this reincarnation process. You can really see that a human person lives through life from young child to grow into an old person, eventually died, then his soul will reborn, recast into a different physical body. And this picture show a very similar process. An old person dead and then will reborn into a young person to relive again. So this long process is movement through different lives. But where you are going should be guided by karma. So karma carries this notion that one's actions impact one's future. So it is a kind of a divine justice, divine system of justice. So wrong behavior will be punished, and good behavior will be rewarded. So when you are rewarded, you kind of move up closer to God. When you are punished, you move down to be further away from God. So this reincarnation is actually a hierarchical movement of souls in this transmigration through different lives, and based on the karma, the virtue you accumulate. On these several pictures, you can see how these notions or these processes are kind of illustrated in an intuitive way. This picture shows that you can go up or going down. Really depend upon your own actions, also related karmas. So you can move closer to God, or you can become further away from God, or depend upon what you do in real life. You can follow the code of conduct for a Hindu or do everything right, being a vegetarian, consume healthy food, devote to God, or you can be consuming all the kind of alcohol, the meat, do all the wrong things, and therefore you are going to be moving away from God. And this picture illustrates very similar concept. And here on this picture, you can really see that this devoted Hindu received a blessing from God, receiving a nice house, cows, a nice family, and money, fortune from God. So those are a very intuitive way to illustrate to the ordinary believers the benefit of practicing your faith. These kind of notions have some practical significance. Uh, they encourage righteousness in humans and also foster hope for the future. But also, this kind of notion help, makes people look for solutions to any problems in themselves, in individuals, rather than seeking socialized solution through social programs and social reforms. Caste system, the Varna and the Jati systems. The Portuguese word caste means clans or lineage. And caste is a kind of a hereditary divisions of society based on occupations. So the caste system or caste position really a symbol of religious purity, your marriage opportunities and the social associations that really tell that who you are, your spiritual purity, who you can marry to, and within which group you can interact with, you can be socializing with. And so you have this classical concept, Varna, that divide society into four classical groups. At the top is this Brahmin group, and these are the people who are Hindu priests, who are gurus, who are spiritual leaders. Okay, so then then you have the second group, Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas are the warriors who may be generals, who may be the rulers of the land, the chiefs of the tribe. So those are Kshatriyas, warriors. Their occupation is to defend and rule their land. Then below them you have the Vasayas. These are the merchants and landowners. These three tier form so-called upper castes. Down below you have sutras. Sutras, those are the servant, menial laborers, and those are subordinates who serve the interests of these top three groups. And below these four groups, you have the untouchables. Those are so-called very dirty group, dirty in terms of the spiritual, dirty spiritually, unclean. So they should be avoided. Okay. So these are four classical occupation groups in this Varna system. In the Hindu creation myth, you have this primal human by the name of Purusha, who was sacrificed by God. So different parts of his body turned to different caste groups. So his mouth become Brahmins, his arms become Kshatriyas, and his thigh become Vasayas, and his feet, the lowest part of his body, become Sutras. So this is, according to Hindu mythology, this is how these four classical caste groups come from. But in Indian politics, in reality, the actual caste groups are called jatis. Jatis. One jati is a particular occupation group, an occupation guild. Within people's lifetime, they may go into other occupations, but when it comes to arranged marriage, you have to be arranged within the jati group that you are born into. The issue of untouchable, and this untouchable, as we see from the previous slide, these are considered as unclean caste group. In Indian politics today, the untouchables, along with some other low caste groups or tribal groups, are collectively called scheduled castes for the purpose of affirmative action policies from the Indian government. There are some other terms for untouchables. Gandhi called untouchables Harijans, which means the children of God. But those untouchables themselves call themselves Dalits, which means the oppressed. It's very similar to what happened in America. Discrimination has been outlawed a long time ago, but the real change will take a very long time to occur. But we do see some changes. For example, today the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is actually a Hindu of untouchable status. So you do see some evidence that an untouchable person could become the leader of a large country. Veneration of the cow and the notion of ahimsa. Cow worship is very typical in Hinduism because the cow embodies the notion of veneration of all creatures and all animals. And the cow is also seen as a symbol of nourishing, ever giving, never taking anything from anyone, never complain. So it's well respected. So you have this the goddess by the name of Kamadinu, a cow goddess, and she was regarded as the mother of all cows. Then also you have this notion of ahimsa, the notion that all forms of life are valuable, that includes plants, animals, and humans. And this is a notion of that includes encompass the doctrine of non-injury, non-violence, and non-killing, and closely relate to the practice of vegetarianism. And this is a symbol of ahimsa. Palms, in the middle of the palm, you see the statement of ahimsa. Scriptures in Hinduism. The most important scripture in Hinduism is the Vedas. The Veda means the knowledge. So this comes in hymns, like poems. And this is the oldest Hindu scripture. And within the Vedas, you have rituals, mantras, various kind of knowledge, and also commentaries. And for a long time, this is a kind of oral tradition, transmitted orally through generations. It only began to be composed in written form since 1500 BC. Upanishads is also an important part of Hindu scripture. It is actually part of the Vedas. It's called Vedanta. It is actually the last part of the Veda. Upanishad contain some very central Hindu philosophical concepts. As we discussed early on, the notion of Brahman and Atman, the relationship between the God and individuals, and the Atman is the Brahman, those concepts are contained within Upanishads. There are also some important post-Vedic scriptures. You have these two major epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Ramayana basically tells a story that Vishnu is one avatar. It appears as Rama, a king. His wife was kidnapped by a villain, and so Rama goes through all the process, all the struggle to rescue his wife with the help of a monkey king. Mahabharata tells stories, all kinds of battles fought between different kingdoms in northern India. Bhagavad Gita is actually part of a Mahabharata. Some people call this the Bible of Hinduism. Then also you have this Puranas. This is a kind of Hindu mythology, but told in the form of an encyclopedia. In summary, in this lecture, we discuss origins of Hinduism, and Hinduism as a variation of religion that has many different origins, many contributing sources. Regarding whether Hinduism a monotheistic religion or polytheistic religion, we know that there are different interpretations. Brahman and Atman basically tells the relationship between God and individual. Reincarnation and karma tells the soul's long journey for improvement will take many cycles, also have certain guidance, such as karma. Caste system is actually the organization of Hindu society that also reflect the relationship between Hindus of different social status. Ka worship and ahimsa embody the notion of veneration of all creatures and all life forms. Scriptures in Hinduism, mainly these Vedas and many post-Vedic scriptures. Thank you very much. I see you next time. Goodbye.